Good morning, everyone. So, in the last session, we are trying to discuss about the Akito framework. So, how it is going to work, we identified in the last session. So, today we'll discuss about the another important session called how we can come up with a REST template related example. So, once a REST template is completed, we'll move on to the microservices related. Because in the microservices, we are going to use this particular REST related example here. Okay, so to understand this particular REST related example, now what we are doing is, so we need to understand the data saving here. So yesterday, whatever we created, Hibernate related sections here, so the data I identified internally, it is not yet creating here. Okay, so this is important here. So now you can see login. So this is, we are having this particular example. This section we already identified in the previous tables here, not this particular tables here. Okay. Now, what I will do, I will remove this particular table signed data so that we can start from the fresh records here. So observe carefully. So table I dropped here, and the same way. Okay. So it is expecting on the some constraints here. Which table is expecting here? Is expecting on the register. Okay. Again, is expecting on the role. Okay, so I deleted all the tables, whatever the important table we are having here. Now what I will do, so I will try to restart this example. We need to identify so why this particular data is not saving here. Okay, now you can see these two tables are created here, login and registration. Now I am going to run this example. So if you observe carefully, it is not expecting the security sections here. Whatever the security we provided, now it is not expecting because of this particular reload functionality. You can see here the live reload server is running on this particular port here. So internally, it will take care of this particular reload related sections here. Okay, so anyway, we'll identify more information on this, but back to here. So we need to provide this particular example. So Spring Architecture I'm trying to providing it. The password. So Architecture I'm trying to give and some random number. So whatever we identify, something like I'm expecting this is the Gmail we used in the last example. Something city address 1. This is also I want to give Hyderabad. Okay, now I'm trying to click on save. So now you can see we are getting some exception here. Class gas exception we are getting. Okay, maybe he's expecting entity manager holder. So he's working on the JPA related sections here. Okay. Now what I understand here, so I'm trying to stop the server. Instead of identifying this particular Hibernate template, Mm, okay, so I want to remove this all the changes. So you cannot see the code properly. Let me increase the font size. Okay, where we are having tool. So let me go to the Google. I want to identify size in uh, Control Shift Alt S. So settings. Here we are having the font. So what about now? So this is visible. So I increase some font size.
The worst day. Get rid of.
Okay, so I hope now it is visible. Now you can see now what we are doing is, so now I'm trying to discuss about the Hibernate template. We are getting an exception. Let me run one more time. Okay, so application is started. So what is an exception we are getting? We need to identify. So Qter. So okay, now I'm trying to click on this. So something went wrong. So we are getting some exception here. Let's see. So we are getting a class exception here. JPA entity manager holder. Now it is trying to converting into the session holder. Okay. So why it is casting this exception? We need to identify this because internally it is trying to use the JPA related, but what we are doing is we are trying to use the Hibernate related example. Now you can see, so RM JPA manager holder cannot cast to session holder. So why it is converting? Now you can see because of this. So here you can see Hibernate JPA auto configuration. Getting the point. So because of this, now it is trying to converting into the JPA related here. So if I'm going to open this particular class, you will understand by default. What happened? So where we are having this. Uh, so this is the class. Now you can observe carefully auto configuration they are trying to use. Here they are trying to providing data source auto configuration class because these are all the default configuration classes. Now you can see it's trying to importing Hibernate JPA configuration. So we already identified this import sections, how it is going to work. And these are all the configuration properties. So how we use the property source, same way. So this annotation is going to work. But here they come up with a one property class. So you can see they're trying to use properties as a list of map of something string variables here. So these are all the properties they are going to provide, and they are having some setters and getters of this particular properties here. Okay, so we use the same information here, but now what I need to do, I need to exclude this. So from where we can exclude here? Where is a so here in our main class we have a exclude here. Now we can provide this. This is the class I need to exclude here. Getting the pen. Now let's see. If I will go to the same example, whether it is reload or not. Okay, so validations are working fine. So whenever we are trying to discuss about the Spring Boot, basically you need to identify all the default configuration classes. So that is important here. Accuter. So and some random number I'm trying to give. Email. Okay, let me click on this save. So again we got this exception. So I think it is not reloaded. No, it's reloaded. Let's see. So let me decrease some font here. So it is very big here. Okay, so this is fine. Click on the registration. Password. Accuter. Okay, some random zip code I'm trying to provide here. Now, so we need to identify why we are getting. Okay, now you can see. So it is inserted into the registrations and login. So earlier, what happened basically? Now, if you observe, because of this particular Hibernate JPA, internally, so we got some class cast exception. Now we resolve that particular class cast. Now successfully we save the data into the registration and login. Now let me go to this registration. Now you can see. So this is the confirm password and the first name, last name, password, some phone number, state and username, some zip code, whatever we provided here. Okay. So this is the something like a registration, and if I'm going to click on the login, this is the password and the username, right? So now this data we saved here, but how we are saving? If you observe carefully, here I'm using user service one class I created. So this is the one transaction related class I created here. So this is we already discussed in the previous example, like when we're trying to discuss about the Spring with the transaction. Same, I did not modify anything here, just I added the transactions here. So that's it, I added here. So remaining of everything is same section. Okay. Now what we need to do here, we need to identify the, so how we can come up with the how we can come up with a RESTful related example. So whatever we are discussing, basically these are all the restless. Getting the point. So here we are trying to discuss about the controller and the request mapping. Whatever we are discussing, these are, we'll call it as a restless related example. Getting the point. Now what we are going to do, we are going to discuss about the RESTful related example, how we can identify this. So if we want to understand this, so we need to write the another important controller class, so that we can write the whatever the registration classes we can register. So same registration class I'm trying to use it. With the help of this particular class, I will try to modify the data. Okay. Now we'll identify how we can identify this example. So whatever we are having is so controller, and directly I can go for this particular save registration details. So let me open the Postman. Do we have any Postman? I need to check. I think I don't have. Yeah, I have. So I'm trying to open this particular Postman. So later I will create this. So right now we don't have any sections here. Okay. Now go to this example. This is the Postman we need to click, because here what is the request we are using? Request mapping, and it should be post here. Getting the point. So the method should be post. Because of that, I'm using the post here. So because we are having so different types of this particular methods here, so I'm trying to select this particular post. And here, what we need to provide here. So here we need to provide the registration objects. So if I want to provide this particular registration object here, now what we can do? So we need to convert this into the JSON format. Getting the point. So we need to convert into this particular example as a JSON format. So how I am going to convert here? So that is another important section we need to identify. Let me identify the conversion. So Java object to JSON here. Okay. So online. Maybe I think this will work. So this is giving the JSON to Java converter, but we are expecting return here. I think this will work. So here I'm trying to providing some messages here. Okay, generate schema. Oh, it is getting failed. Package name from the source. Okay, is expecting package name also. Public class. Okay, it is need package also. Okay, so it is providing type object. No. So this is not basically, let me add here only. Here, now what we can do, Okay, so instead of doing this, here only we can modify the changes. Wherever we are trying to use this particular controller, and here, so we have a conversion here. So I will try to use the conversion logic here. So what are the conversion logic we can use? Let's see. So JSON auto configuration we are having. JSON parser dot. It is a class here. So we can go for the object mapper. I want to convert it into the JSON format so that we can send a request from the Postman itself. So object mapper, new object mapper, object mapper dot. So what is the method? We can use create parser. It will try to get as a JSON schema, not this. Let me identify the proper method. Create a object node. Disable, enable. JSON node type, read value. What is the method we have? So write as a string. So this will give you the, let me send in a, now I am going to convert this object. So again I'm trying to save this example. So this object mapper basically it will try to convert the object type into the JSON, and the same way from the JSON to we can convert it into the object type. So this is the class it is useful. So let me clear this. So basically I thought this will work, but it is not working. So again I'm trying to give the same class. So CTV tutor, some random number. Okay, so I'm trying to click on save. So the request is come here. Copy value. Okay, now you can see this is the JSON format basically. So using this particular format, we are going to send in a data. Okay, now I don't want to save. Okay, let's save this. Okay, so it successfully saved into the database. So 2 records. So these are all the 2 records we are having. Now what I will do, so I want to use this, and if I'm using here, we are going to send in a request here. So if I'm going to send in this, now you can see what happened here. So 200K, whatever this particular 200 we are getting the fund. But now if you observe carefully, What happening internally? So here we are getting here, please sign in. Getting the point? So you are getting the sign in option. So why we are getting sign in here? We are trying to do from the outside of this. Getting the point? So this is important. We need to identify here. Because of this particular example, we are trying to do the sign in option here. Okay. Now what I will do? So first I will exclude this. First I will exclude this section here. So from where we can exclude this? We need to go to the. I want to comment out this. So because of this, it is not working expected way. Now go to the Spring Security. Whatever we are providing here, so this example, whatever the controller class I'm trying to write, I want to exclude this. Get in the pen. So how we are excluding this? So same way we need to exclude here. So now first I will create the controller. So it's like a one of the REST template. Otherwise, create, update, read, and delete. So this is the CUD controller I'm trying to write here. So it basically it will try to update the and it will try to delete the data here. Now what I will do here, I'm going to write the same controller. If I'm going to write this particular controller, so controller I'm trying to write, and here, so I'm trying to write the request mapping, and here, so CUD request. Okay, so this is the CUD request I'm trying to providing, and remaining same. Whatever we identify private, so user service and user service. So after this, we don't want to send any email. Instead of doing directly service, we can go for the repository only. So we can go for the repository only. And public CUD controller, and here, so user repository. So user repository. Okay, here we provide user service. So user repository here. AutoVAD. Okay, so after this, now what I will do, here I'm going to write. So public, now we need to identify the, once we save this, now what we can write, right now I'm going to write a string here. So later I will modify this and save registration, otherwise save user info. So registration and registration. Okay, now what I will do, here I'm going to write one more request mapping. Okay, save user info, and here we can write the value. So after value, this should be which method we can take. Post we can take this, and here user repository dot. So save registration. I'm trying to save this. This is completed. Now here is expecting to return something. So just I'm trying to write success, and another method I'm trying to write here. Okay, so instead of this save, update user info. So here, so we can go for the put here. And here, what I will do, so inside this particular save registration details, instead of save, we can create a update here. Create a method, hibernate template dot save or update registration. Okay, so this is I'm going to call. Now go back to this CAD controller. So another method I want to write something like get user info. So get method, so registration. This get method, it will try to return the list of registration. So it will not take any parameters here. Okay, and here user repository dot so return. Now I want to create a method, hibernate template dot. So what we can write here, find by example. So we need to return the list of records here. Here now you can see, so find by criteria. So it is expecting detached criteria, and so we'll try to identify this registration dot class. So what is expecting? Maybe product class. Oh, in between is expecting class. Okay. So this find by example will not support here. Basically, we'll see this entity name. What is the entity name we are having? Something like a registration class. No, I think the find by example totally it will return the different way. So we'll identify another method. We have a load method. Load and get method will not support here. Any other method we are having? So get method, find by criteria. So find by named parameter. These are all the deprecated methods. Refresh. Find by example, it should support. Okay, load all. So we want to go to this load all registration dot class. Okay, so now you can see it is supporting this load all method. Now this is the one method, and here now here what I will do, get user info slash, here I want to provide the ID. So we can go for the registration, and here based on ID. And here, so path variable we need to identify. It should be long ID. And user info, we can write the same method based on ID, and we can pass ID. So let me go to the registration. So what we are using? Long ID. Create a method, and here return Hibernate template dot. So we can go for the load method. So registration dot class and ID. Okay, so after this, now the last method, delete user info. So here we can provide the same ID. So delete user info. And here we'll identify, so what it will return. So once object is written, Hibernate template dot delete. And here they are expecting object here. And so we don't have a ID here. So if we don't have an ID, now what we can do? We need to pass the entire object here. Delete collection entities, entity name and lock mode, object entity. Okay. Now what we can do? So we'll try to define this particular delete section. So with help of this registration. Instead of this particular long, now I'm going to provide the registration. So basically, what is returning this? Hibernate void here. So we cannot get anything. We can make the void here. Let me go to this, and here we cannot provide the ID. And remove this. Registration. So make as a void. Okay, so this is the card repository we created. It's like for this particular class, what is doing basically, it is trying to inserting, updating and delete, and it will try to load the data. So these are all the different type of operations we are doing here. Now what we can do, so we'll try to run this example. So we'll identify how it is going to execute this. So to understand this example, first what we need here, we need to return this. First we need to copy this, go to the Spring Security. So access denied. So after this particular access denied, now I want to provide for this particular section also. Whatever this particular CUD request we are having, so I don't want to make any security on this. So what I'm doing here, I'm trying to make one ANT method. So based on this particular pattern, it will not allow the security here. So without the security, we can access this particular resource here. Okay, so this is expecting here. Now I'm trying to run this example. So it is started, right? So once it is started, now I will click on this. So we'll try to identify first get section. So what we can identify, get user info. So once the get user info, what it will do, it will try to return the list of records here. So I will try to click on this. Okay. Now copy these particular sections here. Okay. Now send a request here. Let me try outside. Again, he is expecting. Oh, so because of the security, maybe it is not working. So let's identify. So why we are getting the security? Now we are adding permit all. So maybe anything is missing. Will secure any request, disable encoder URL filter. Okay, so we'll secure any request, disable this. Maybe we need to disable this filter. Username, password authentication failure. Filter security interceptor. Okay, let me try one more. So basically it should work without adding this. So permit all. Mm, So it's going to the security. Oh, no, it is not working. So this is also failing. Okay, so maybe creation of secure random instance of session ID generation using SHAPNG milliseconds. Okay, so how we can disable filter security? So this particular anti-matcher. Okay, let me identify. So something the security things we are getting here. Okay, I need to review on this. So why we are getting this security? default to security filter chain. Okay, here we are having default security, conditional on, web security. So exclude, what are the we are having? Let's see. Okay, is expecting multiple errors only. Okay, security, why it is not available? This class is already available. I'm trying to exclude this. Here we are having this security. Okay. Uh, why it is not coming? So I think it's expecting the default security. So we need to exclude this particular default security. What we are having? Security. Okay, why it is not coming? Spring Boot. Okay, let me see one more time. Security filter chain. It's a static class. Spring Boot web security configuration. Okay, let me identify the default security configuration. Because of this, maybe it is trying to identify the default security. Let's see. Default security filter chain. So package Spring Boot's web security configuration.java. File is read only. How can we load this? Replace. Spring Boot security. Okay. Okay. Let me find out the Spring Boot default to security. What is the management security auto configuration? Okay, security auto configuration. Let me run this example. So the name of the class will be different here. So we need to identify the default configurations here. Okay, so server is started. So again he is expecting. So this is wrong. No. So we remove that anti-matcher. No, we did not remove. So why is expecting this? Maybe it is because of this. No, I think it is not yet removed here. Yes. The string security, it is not yet removed here. Secure random instance. Okay, so what I will do for this, I am going to comment out. I need to identify, so why the default security, what are the classes we need to configure. Okay, another we are having, right? So management web security auto configuration. Let me add this particular class also. I think no. So these are still, it is trying to connect it. So default security filter chain. I'm thinking, so this will not resolve. So you can see, so it is trying to move on to the sign in. So anyway, I will do some more R&D on this, like what exactly the particular class we need to exclude. Because even though these particular classes are excluding, but still we are able to see the default security here. So security config, I come up with enable web security, right? This is only we are using. Okay, so anyway, now I will identify on this and I will let you know this recording security, but we'll focus on the REST related example. So AOP, okay. Nice. So at this time, it should get an exception. Okay. So now it is started. So 404 we are getting. Okay. So why we are getting 404? So 404 page is not found. CUD request. Okay. Template input exception. Okay, so now we are getting the expected information here. So CUD request user info template might not exist, must not be accessible. So it's trying to throw on a time leaf related example. Now what we need to provide here? So here is trying to expecting like view pages basically. Whatever the view pages we are trying to see, so is expecting this. But what we need basically, we are not going to work with any view pages here. So if you observe here, it is trying to select the statement here. Now it's nothing but it's trying to load the data from the database. So after loading, what happening internally, it is trying to return the data. Whenever it is trying to return the data, now we are getting this particular exception here. Getting the point. So what you need to write here, we need to write this particular response body. Okay, so this is very important. We need to write here instead of trying to communicate with this particular controller. If I'm going to modify with a REST controller. So if I'm going to modify this as a REST controller, now you will understand how it is going to work this. Get user. So, okay, so directly we are returning, right? Now I'm going to run this same example. So I will show you the differences between the controller as well as now REST controller here. So application is started. Now again, I'm trying to click on the same. Now you can see we are getting the data. So these are all the two records we are having here. So where we are having these two records in our database here. Getting the point. So 8 and 10. So ID number 8 and ID number 10. If you go to the database, now you will identify same. So ID number 8 and 10, we are having two records. Now what you understand basically, when we are trying to communicate with this particular controller, is expecting the view pages here. Getting the point. Is expecting the view pages. But when we're trying to work with this particular REST controller, it is not expecting anything because internally it will try to convert the output as a JSON format. Now it will return this. So if you see here, whatever we are expecting, sorry, here it is a JSON format here. Getting the point. Now if you copy this and go to the JSON conversion. So here you can see this is the first record. This is the first record we are getting, and this is the second record we are getting. Getting the point. So ID is going to differentiate the two records here. So this is the objects we are getting. But how we are getting? The format we are getting as a JSON. So how we are getting this JSON? Because of this particular REST controller. The REST controller is take care of conversion. But when we are using this particular controller, what we need basically, so we need a response body also. When we're trying to work with this particular controller, so we need to add the request body as well as response body. Now again, so I will go back to this particular controller, and where we are trying to discuss about this, get to user info, right? So here I'm going to write the response body. Okay, I'm going to write this particular response body. So this is the one example I'm trying to write. Application is started. Any exception we are getting? Nothing. Now if you go to this, so again I'm trying to resend a request here. Now you can see, so without getting any exception, now we are getting the data. Getting the point. Earlier we got an exception, so timely related exception we got, but right now we are not getting. So if I'm going to copy this, and if I'm going to send from the postman, now you can see, so two requests we are getting, like two, these are all the two objects we are getting here. Getting the point. So this is the important information we need to identify here. Okay, so now what I will do, so if I'm going to send this, like if I want to save this, where is the request? So this one, if I'm going to use this method here, save user info. Okay, let me copy this. Now if you see, we'll get an exception. So we are getting internal server error. So why we are getting this internal server error? Now we need to understand here. Now if you see, what is expecting here? So null pointer exception. So where we are getting this particular null pointer exception? So email service. Email service. So inside the email service, we are getting some exception. So why we are getting this? Okay, here the email service is null. So because of this method, now directly user repository, we have these two sections. Why again we are getting here? So user repository, I modify the changes. Okay, got it. Okay, so basically I need to comment out these two. Because of these two sections, we are getting an error. Let me restart the server. Okay, application is started. Now I'm going to the postman. I'm trying to send in a request. So again we are getting 500. Now we need to identify now. So invalid data access, API usage exception. So write operations are not allowed in the read only. Getting the point. So we are getting something like a session related. Getting the point. So something like a session related we are getting. Now if you observe carefully, what is an exception we are getting? So we are using some transaction here. Because of this particular transaction, now we are getting an exceptions here. Okay, so this is important. Now what I will do, so instead of using this, this is also I can comment out, because already we created So it is not required this. Okay, so now what I will do, so I'm going to stop this, and wherever we are using this particular CUD controller, and here instead of this particular user repository, now I will go to the user service. So user service, internally we identified the transaction related section. Okay, so we are getting an exception. Because of that, now I am trying to modify. So directly we can modify that the use whatever the flash related exception, but instead of doing this, we are going to use the something like service related sections here. Okay, so these are all the methods we are having. Now I will try to create each and every method. So directly this method we can call user repository dot update registration. Maybe this is not returning anything. Update method, what we implemented, okay, it is a void method only. So go back to the CUD controller. Now create this, and here user repository dot get user info, return. Okay, so finally this will try to create a one more method, return user repository dot id. So the last method, user repository dot delete user info registration. Now, so I want to enable the security. Basically, we missed something here. Let me go to the security config. Okay, so what I identified, basically we did not provide this particular CUD request here. So because of maybe we are getting this exception. So we'll see this get request. Oh, again is expecting. No, I think it is not working. So why? Because I added like a remove the security on that. No. Okay. So something we are missing, and to make sure it should work. So anyway, I will debug this. So I thought something we missed, but so even though it is not working this example, okay, so I will debug this. Maybe so the whatever we are expecting the security auto configuration, so it is not excluding successfully. Okay, let me stop. So we'll continue on the without the security. Okay, now we'll go to the security config, comment out, and run this example. Okay, now you can see. So why we are getting transaction required exception. Okay, so for this purpose, he is expecting the transaction. Okay, so user service, whatever we are providing, the transaction here. We are trying to load the data. So this is, so it is not required here. So basically, what we are having, required nested never, not supported. For this particular get related, so we can go for the supports and user info. So now, okay, not this. For this particular required, and here we can go for the support, and so this is also we can go for the supports only. For this particular delete, we can go for the required here, or we can go for the nested one. Whatever the nested one we are having, if it is there, we can use this particular nested one. So I hope I already provided all the transactions here. Now I'm trying to stop. Again, I'm trying to run this particular example. Again, we are getting, okay, no transaction. So why the transaction is not available? We did not create the transaction. I think where we are having. So here we are having the transaction manager. Transaction manager, local session factory bean. It's there. Transaction required exception. So which one it is calling basically? Let's see. CUD controller. Okay. So user info only it is calling. So he's expecting the transaction. Okay. Let me provide required. For loading also transaction is not required basically. If it is supports, it's fine. Okay. Okay. So you can see it's because of the security. The method is expecting the transaction, but what we provided, the method is going to support the transaction. So see the differences. So now we identified this. Now whenever I'm trying to save this, so again I'm going to send in a request here. So we are getting 500. For this particular save, we are getting the 500. So now we need to identify this except. Again we are getting the null pointer. So why we are getting? Okay. Okay. Java's mail sender it is null. So we don't have this email is there. Why we are getting Java mail sender as a null? Okay, let me put a breakpoint here. So why we are getting null? So we need to identify. Again, I'm trying to send in a request. Let's see. So Java mail sender object is coming. Okay. So register. Oh, got it. So the register is null. Now you can see. So this register object is null. Maybe it's because of this we are getting a null pointer exception. Now you can see all the values are null. Getting the point. So why we are getting this particular values as a null? Whatever we are sending. So from where it is calling? Here it is calling. So inside the transactional, If you go to this method, save registration details. So this is the method we are calling. Now if you see this, registration is null. This registration object is null. But what we are providing basically, here we are providing the object information. So this particular object is not passing here. So now what we need, so we need to write the annotations here. So these two annotations we need to write. So first one, I want to write response body. Okay, because it is trying to return something. And here we need to write the request body. Okay, so these two sections we need to write. Now if I'm going to run same example, we'll identify how this example is going to work. Okay, so application is started. Now again I'm trying to send in a request. Request is received. So if you click on this register, you are getting the data. Getting the point. So now you are getting this particular data. Earlier we could not get the data, so we get the null values because of whatever the request body annotation we did not use it. Now what is the advantage we are getting this? So basically request body, whatever the object we are passing, the JSON object, now it will try to convert it into the appropriate object type here. Getting the point. So automatically it will convert here. So without explicit conversion, so the request body annotation is going to take care of conversion. So whatever the response body, now it will run to convert the object into the JSON format here. But if you are using the REST controller, we don't need to specify either request body or response body. Okay. But right now, what is the control we are using? So it's a simple control we are using. So if you go to here, it's a controller. But when we are trying to use the REST controller, no need to specify this request body as well as response body. So directly you can work on the whatever you're trying to work on this. Okay. So now what I will do, I will click on this. So I will click on the F9. So we need to identify the data is going to save or not. So now you can see insert into registration and login. So this is what we are getting, something like ActiveMQ. So JMS exception we are getting. So due to the prior exception, what is the prior exception? So it's like a connection related exception we are getting, I hope. So now we need to identify if everything is goes successful. So we are able to see the three objects. Now you can see three objects we are having. Getting the point. So we have three objects here. Now I will click on the update section. So meanwhile, if I'm going to open the ActiveMQ, so it is in stop mode. No, it is in running. I think we need to fix this exception. So what is this exception is indicating? Disposal due to the prior exception could not clone shared AMS exception. Dispose due to prior exception. So this is the different exception we are getting. Evo FE exception. Caching connection could not close the. Okay, maybe. So it's a close ring related exception here. So it after using this, it's trying to close this particular JMS connection. Okay, because we are not closing this, so because of this we are getting an exception. But finally, now you can see here. So here we are getting three objects. Now, so far, what all the methods we identified here? So we identify the same method, how it is working here, and this particular get user related sections we identify. Now what we can do, this we need to identify the get user info / ID. Okay, so to understand this, first what we need, I want to provide this particular response body. Getting the point? I want to provide this particular response body. So based on this particular ID, so it will try to return the data here. Now what we can provide, so let me copy this and I will go to the one more and So finally, what I will provide here, I will provide the. So I'm trying to give ID as a 10. Okay. So we'll see. Server is started. It is a get method. Okay. If I'm trying to put a breakpoint here, now we can identify the ID is coming or not. Now you can see ID 10. Whatever the ID we are providing is, the ID is containing 10 value. So where we given this particular 10 value? Here. So what exactly it is indicating? Basically, this is a placeholder we are going to call. The placeholder, basically it will replace with the original value. So whatever the original value we are providing, now it is replacing. So with the help of this particular path variable annotation, now what we are doing is, whatever the placeholder value we are having, now it is assigned into this particular long ID. Okay, so now we'll try to move on to this particular method. So it's going to the some other location. Let me click on F9. We'll see if everything is goes successful, we are going to get the data. Now we can see we are getting an exception. So transaction required exception. No transaction in progress. Getting the point. So we did not use the transactions here. So because of this, we are getting an exception. Now where we can provide, so something like this is. So you can write here, instead of support, basically, so mandatory we cannot write, so never, not supported. Let me try. I think the get method, nested one, I think we cannot use because it is a, so first required. Okay, we can go for this particular request only. The required we are trying to use for each and every request we are trying to providing. So transaction is required. Okay, now again I'm trying to send in a same request here. Now, okay, so we have a breakpoint here. Now let me click on this. Let's see. So again we are getting 500. Now click on the console. What we are expecting? HTTP message not writable exception. Could not write JSON. Okay, no session. Username. Maybe it is trying to load. So why we are getting this? Could not. Okay, so identified because we are using the load method. So load is expecting the session. Let me go to the get method. So we'll modify this. Maybe because of this, it is trying to throw an exception. Okay, so let me run one more time. So click on this. Go to the postman. Now you can see we are able to see the object here. Getting the point. So based on this particular ID 10, now we are able to see this is the object here. And finally, now what we will do, we'll try to delete the object. So if I want to delete this, what I will do, I will copy this, what I provided, delete user info. So this is the endpoint we constructed here. Now what I will do after this, anything we need to change, I think we is expecting the object here. So if it is expecting the object, now I'm going to copy the same object. So get method cannot expect object here. Let me make it as a delete. Okay, so here we can go for this particular delete here. Okay, so it is started. Now I am going to click on this send here. Method not allowed. Sorry. Okay, so this we need to identify. So 500 we are getting. Now you can see template. Okay, is expecting this. First we'll identify whether this particular object is removed or not. Now you can see because of this particular path, so he's expecting the template might not exist or might not access this particular timeleap related template here. Okay, so because we are trying to return something. Now let me copy this again, the same response body here. Now we need to run this example one more time. So these are all the some disadvantage we are going to have whenever we are trying to use this particular controller. But when we are trying to use this particular REST controller successfully, so without using this particular request body as well as response body, we can work on the all the examples here. Now you can see, so status is 200 because we are not returning anything, so that we are not getting any data. Now what we can do, so if I'm going to run this, so we should get only 2 records. It is not flashed. I think handling transient entity in the delete processing. Okay, so maybe so it is not flash. I think it is not committed this particular data. Okay, let's see whether this request is coming or not first. So it is coming. Yes, you can see these objects are null. Now you can see, so because of these objects are null, so we could not delete the object. So what we are missing again? We need to go back to the same CUD controller, add this particular request body. Okay, so this is the request body annotation we need to add here. So this is we missed here. Now again I'm trying to run this example. So this is the way of identifying one by one. So whatever we missed here and how we are trying to fix this particular each and every request information. So if you observe carefully, without the UI pages directly, we are able to connect this application from the Postman. We are trying to updating the data and we are trying to delete this particular data here. Okay, so this is important. Now you can see all the records are available now with help of this particular request body. So now you can see, so delete from registration where ID. So now we are able to see the particular SQL query here. Okay, now you can see, so it is trying to return the 200. Now I will go to the select statement. So we don't have the particular 10 record. So 8 and 12 we are having. The particular 10 record is deleted here. So this is, we need to identify how this particular REST template related example is going to work. Okay, so this is one of the important example we need to understand. So with help of this particular Postman, we are trying to perform all the CUD operations here. Okay, so any questions on this? Any questions on this particular CUD example? So whatever we are discussing here. Okay, so this is very important here. So only we stuck this particular security. The security is not working. So when we are trying to use this particular anti-matcher. Okay, so I will debug this particular code. So why it is not matching? Basically, this is the way of writing the exclusions basically. Now I will figure this and why this antimatcher is not working. So maybe we are not excluding the proper class here. So whatever the default Spring security provided the configuration class is. So now I will identify which class we need to exclude. So once I exclude this, maybe we can resolve this particular issue here. Okay. So this I will explain you tomorrow, and later. So tomorrow we are going to discuss about the microservices. So when we are trying to discuss about the microservices, most of the cases we'll try to run all the example from the Postman itself. So because of that, now I provided the basic example how the Postman it is working, like how we given this particular URL, and after this particular request mapping here. So each and every request mapping is changed here based on our operations here. Okay, so we'll continue tomorrow. The one of the important example called microservices here. Okay, so I hope we don't have any questions. So we'll continue tomorrow. Okay, so still, if anyone having any questions, so you can ask me. So before conclude the today session. Okay, so thank you. So I think we don't have anything. So we'll see you tomorrow.